Welcome back. In today's class, we are going to learn about a particular type of red algae which is called as Gracilaria. This is generally observed as the seaweed seen in the tropical region, temperate region. It is a free-living organism in few species case, but most of the times they are believed to be attached to a substrate. This is a systemic classification of Gracilaria. To speak about the thalli, it is believed to be cylindrical or terete. It is highly branched. It is folious, which spreads and grows, which shows alternate branching, and it is believed to be fleshy. It has a prominent main axis, and it has several secondary and tertiary generation branching around it. To see the external appearance of the Gracilaria, it is believed to be long, erect, with a prominent middle axis, has prominent branching, which shows secondary and tertiary generation branching, cylindrical. It's depressed or blade shaped, which has alternating or a lateral branching. They are the ones which is believed to be called as the seaweed. To speak about the anatomy of the main axis, it has two prominent regions. The first one is the cortical region, and the second one is the medulla region. The cortical region are the external surface, thick, compactly arranged parenchymatic cells, which is rich in chromatophores, contains the pigments such as phycoerythrin, chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, beta or alpha carotenes, and also it is believed to store the reserve food materials. That's the reason why it appears red in color, because of the pigment called as phycoerythrin. The medulla is the centermost part of the main axis, which has loosely arranged parenchymatous cells, helps in better conduction of water and mineral nutrients. To speak about the reproduction shown by Gracilaria, it shows three types of reproduction: vegetative, sexual, and asexual. Vegetative reproduction is simply by fragmentation, where the thalli divides into many bits or species, where each bit develops into a new thalli. In case of asexual reproduction, there are two immotile spores that are produced, which involves in production of new thalli. In sexual reproduction, it is a typical oogamous type, where there are two extremely different gametophytes that are involved in reproduction. To speak about the male sex organ, it is called as the spermatangium or antheridium, which is called as the male sex organ. Spermatangium produces spermatia. This is how the spermatangium looks like, and it has a capability to produce about 2 to 3 spermatia, which is spherical, immotile cell, which is produced from the cortical layer. Spermatangium is always rich in its protoplasmic content, capable of producing spermatia. Here, the rupture of your spermatangium will produce spermatia, which has the capability to go and fertilize the female gametophyte, that is the trichogyne. I'll come to that. Here, spermatangia is a globular oval-shaped structure which is distributed throughout the thalli. It has the spermatangial conceptacles which are holding it. Conceptacles are nothing but like stalks that hold the spermatangium. So that is called as the spermatangial conceptacles that are seen in the three regions of your thalli. The female sex organ is called as the cystocarp that I was talking about, which is generally called as the carpogonium. Has two important regions that is called as the trichophore or the trichogyne. Carpogonium is a flask-shaped structure which has an egg cell within it. The neck part is called as the trichogyne. The swollen basal part is called as a trichophore, inside which the egg cells are present. The spermatia that is released from the spermatangium will travel all the way to the female gametophyte using the water current. Chemotatic movement is shown, dissolves the layer and penetrates deep inside the carpogonium and fertilizes the egg nuclei that is there. Here, that there, apart from that, in the female sex organ, there is something called as the fertile filament that is there, which acts as a protective defense mechanical layer. And also there are lateral cells that are seen adjacent to the female gametophyte that involves in better conduction of the nutrients and absorption. The fertilization process is, as I told, where the spermatia reaches the female gametophyte, dissolves the topmost layer, travels down the area and fertilizes the egg cell, where the egg cell shows division, where 4 haploid nuclei will be produced, where this nuclei is expelled out on for set of favorable condition when falls on a suitable substrate and develops into a new individual. Here, this carposporophyte is being produced as an end product of the fertilization. To add more light to the reproductive part or how the spores are produced, cystocarp is a place where generally spores are produced. As I told you, asexual reproduction happens by production of spores. That is, there are 2 types of spore. One is the carpospore and the tetraspore. So this clearly shows us how carpospores and tetraspores are produced. To speak about the cystocarp, which is believed to be a very prominent globous or hemispherical structure seen on the cortical region of the thalli, has 4 important parts. The first one is the pericarp, which is also called as the cystocarp wall, which is compactly arranged parenchymatic cells, rigid, pigmented, acts as an epidermal layer or a protective layer. Then comes the gonymoblast. This is the gonymoblast, which is again made up of parenchymatic cells, globular shaped. This is formed by the gonymoblast initial cells by a prominent division mitotically. They form gonymoblast. Gonymoblast initial is a cell that becomes gonymoblast later. That is an initial cell. So that cell, when undergoes prominent mitotic division, produces gonymoblast. This gonymoblast hence forms carposporangium. This carposporangium is now capable of producing carpospores. Carpospores are believed to be spherical, non-motile and triploid in nature. These carpospores are produced by the fusion of cells with the axial cells, which believed is now multinucleated, highly nutritive in nature, and produces numerous carpospores within it. These carpospores are released via ostule, which is the opening. When they are released in the form of tetrasporophyte. This tetrasporophyte will have 4 spores in them, 4 tetraspores in them. That is why they are called as tetrasporophyte. That is where the gonymoblast produces carposporangium. Carposporangium produces carpospores. Now these carpospores are released in the form of tetrasporophyte. Apart from that, there is this absorbing filament or a sterile filament. It is involving in better absorption of the mineral nutrients and vitamins. So this is the carpospores and the tetraspores that I was talking about, where the carposporophyte produces carpospores. And when they are released in the form of tetrasporophyte, where 4 tetraspores will be produced by this tetrasporophyte. Tetrasporophyte is diploid in nature, produces 4 haploid spores called as tetraspores. Where in that 2 develops as a male gametophyte, 2 develops as a female gametophyte. This is how asexual reproduction of the immotile spore occurs, where this concludes the sexual reproduction of the Gracilaria. This is the transfer section of your tetrasporangium, where 4 cells are seen, where the sporophyte contains 4 cells inside it, seen in the cortical region. This is the life cycle of Gracilaria, where cystocarp has a capability to produce carpospores. These carpospores are released in the form of tetraspores. The tetraspores will now, where 2 spores will develop as a female gametophyte and 2 spores will develop as a male gametophyte, where female gametophyte will produce carpogonium, male gametophyte will produce spermatea, spermatangium, which produces spermatea in turn, and then that fertilization will result as a product of cystocarp. This cystocarp is a end product of the fertilization process. This clearly depicts how the life cycle of the Gracilaria is remaining. The cystocarp produces the typical type of spores, which when germinated becomes a tetrasporophyte. This tetrasporophyte will give 4 spores, where 2 will become male gametophyte, 2 will become female gametophyte. Female gametophyte will put across carpogonium. Male gametophyte will put across spermatangium, where spermatea are produced in spermatangium, egg cells are produced in carpogonium. After the fertilization process, as an end product, cystocarp is produced, which is now capable of producing numerous spores, and that is how the cycle continues. To speak about the economical importance, the red algae, apart from a production of agar-agar that we use in the laboratory, there are many antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, anti-obesity, antifungal, anticoagulant, antidipletic, antipyretic, anti-obesity. There are antiviral property that is shown by this red algae, which can be useful in its economical value. Okay, that is all we have for today's video, and thank you.